Kylie Minogue's discography is nothing short of legendary. Truthfully, there's a handful of albums you could call her best, and I would totally understand why. While it seems like the general consensus is that Fever is her best, I'd argue that her 10th album, X, deserves to be in the conversation. Now, I don't actually think it is her best, but I personally think it deserves way more credit for being one of the most consistently excellent pop records of the 2000s. X was a significant moment in Kylie's career and personal life, as it was her first album released since 2003's Body Language. Kylie, especially back in the 90s and early 2000s, didn't tend to take breaks this long between album cycles, but very unfortunate circumstances forced her to do so this time. In 2005, she was diagnosed with breast cancer, causing her to cancel her Showgirl The Greatest Hits tour and undergo treatment. Thankfully, the treatment worked, and she wasted no time getting back to touring, with the show now being retitled Showgirl The Homecoming Tour, which commenced in November 2006. She also headed right back to the studio when she started recovering to start work on a new album. And can we please give Miss Minogue her flowers right now? She literally was back on tour and started making new music in the midst of a very traumatic time in her life. The definition of a professional. I highly recommend watching the documentary White Diamond, a personal portrait of Kylie Minogue, as it gives a glimpse into her life at the time and just how crazy and understandably exhausting it was for her to get back into the swing of things. It's also just interesting to see all the behind the scenes details and planning that goes into a tour. And of course, Kylie herself is just a joy to watch. Kylie confirmed in November 2006 that she was working on her new album, and that she was feeling particularly inspired after everything she had gone through. X took roughly a year and a half to complete, with more than 40 songs being recorded. Among the earliest tracks written were Cosmic and No More Rain, both of which were inspired by her battle with breast cancer. Kylie worked with some of the hottest producers from the time, such as Bloodshy and Avant, Guy Chambers, Kathy Dennis, and a then relatively unknown Calvin Harris. The result was a grab bag of basically every trend in pop music at the time. And don't get me wrong, Kylie makes these songs her own, so it doesn't come across as her doing a pale imitation of other acts, but you could definitely tell where her influences were coming from. Hell, the lead single, Two Hearts, is actually a cover of a song by the electropop group Kish Mauve, who would later go on to co-produce her 2010 hit All the Lovers. The song is a glam rock electropop banger, and being her big comeback single, it debuted at number 1 in her home country of Australia, definitive proof that the Queen was back, though it did receive somewhat mixed reception among fans and critics, who felt it didn't quite live up to expectations. I obviously can't speak to this, as I was not only too young at the time to be keeping up with any celebrities, but I also live in the US where we have no taste, and Kylie isn't as big. But from what I've gathered online, it seems like fans were expecting something less understated and more personal, considering this was right after the intense media coverage of her cancer battle. Two Hearts is fairly different from what Kylie typically does. Not that she didn't have rock-inspired tracks before, but she was definitely more well-known for making disco-inspired dance bops. Her next single, Wow, was probably closer to what people were expecting, being a fun, upbeat, beamingly positive bubblegum pop track. This song is joy incarnate, thanks to Kylie's radiant energy, and that brilliant wow 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 hook. It was actually close to being the lead single, along with another track called Like a Drug, though Two Hearts ultimately won out. I will say, I feel like Wow probably would have gotten better reception as a lead single, but I commend her for doing something so different for her comeback. Regardless, I do like Wow a lot more than Two Hearts. It's just so blissfully happy that I can't help but dance whenever I hear it. Same goes for the third single, In My Arms, which was co-produced by Calvin Harris. The song is like if you took the heavy electronic beats and icy robotic vocals of Britney Spears' Blackout and mixed it with the 80s synth-pop influences heard on Gwen Stefani's Love Angel Music Baby. It's certainly informed by popular music of the time, but Kylie still makes it her own, thanks to her natural charisma. This is another one I cannot help but sing along and dance to. I especially love how sexy her vocals get in the pre-chorus. It's just so much fun. The next single, All I See, was released exclusively in North America, and it's pretty obvious they made this one to appeal to the US, since it's more of a pop R&B track. It even had a remix with the rapper Mims, who you may remember for being hot. The song reached number 3 on the Dance Club Songs chart, but didn't manage to crack the Hot 100, which is a shame because I could totally hear this fitting in with radio hits from the time. It's also just one of my favorites by Kylie. It's a sweet and sappy love song that may have come across as corny if someone else sang it, but Kylie just makes it work perfectly, mostly thanks to her angelic delivery. It's the perfect song to throw on when you want to mellow out, or even if you need a good happy cry. While I love all of these songs, the clear standout from this era, singles-wise, is definitely The One. This is the kind of song I imagine they play when you're ascending to heaven, being an electronica Europop dance track. Not only is the production immaculate, but Kylie gives such an incredible performance, where you can really hear the longing in her voice for the person she loves. The One is timeless, one of those songs that sounds just as fresh today as I imagine it did back in 2007, and it's crazy to me that it wasn't a bigger hit, as it didn't chart at all on the Australian singles chart, and only peaked at number 36 on the UK singles chart. This was most likely due to limited promotion, but regardless, it's gone on to become a fan favorite. While the singles from X are all incredible, I think the rest of the album maintains the same quality throughout. The tracklist is just bop after bop after bop, a relentless masterclass of bubbly electropop that combines Kylie's typical dance songs with an eclectic blend of genres such as R&B, rock, and even hip-hop. Tracks like the heavily vocoded Speakerphone, the funky Nudity, and the effortlessly cool Heartbeat Rock wouldn't sound out of place on Britney's Blackout, or even in one of the Sugar Babes or Girls Aloud's albums from the time, but it's Kylie's fun-loving and sexy performance that truly elevates them. X keeps you on your toes. Each song has something distinct that makes it stand out. From the horns and horniness of Nudity, the Morse code-like beeps on The One, the Western movie vibes of Sensitized, every track has something memorable about it. Even the B-sides from this era are absolute bangers, and there were a lot of them. I guess with over 40 songs recorded, they figured they could release a bunch of scraps that didn't make it onto the standard edition. And I won't lie, I don't think any of the B-sides needed to be on it. X is a very tight, all-killer, no-filler record without them, but songs like Carried Away, Do It Again, and I Don't Know What It Is are definitely worth checking out, since they're mid-2000s pop perfection. You can hear a little more rock influence in those ones, mixed with the electro dance pop, which again reminds me a lot of Gwen Stefani's debut album. Rippin' Up the Disco and Magnetic Electric are also bops, with choruses that literally keep me up at night since I can't get them out of my head. Among some of my other favorite tracks on X are the ones where she gets a little more personal. Kylie has always intentionally kept her private life to herself, which she should absolutely do if she wants, but her walls do come down a little bit at certain points, mainly on the tracks Cosmic, No More Rain, and Stars. Cosmic is a beautifully understated ballad about the things Kylie wanted to do when she got through her treatment. A simple concept executed flawlessly. It's one of those songs that literally just begins and I start crying. Like literally even before she starts singing, I see the title and I tear up. And speaking of, No More Rain specifically has gotten me through some tough times. A blissfully joyous dance track, No More Rain sees Kylie contemplating on the fear she felt during her cancer battle, and how overwhelmingly happy she is to have made it through. The song is written broadly enough where it can apply to basically any tough time anyone's gone through, and I think that's what makes it so effective. It's a celebration of making it to the other side, and being grateful to be alive, which is why, even though it's not a sad song per se, I have bawled my eyes out to it more times than I could count. Whenever I'm going through it, this song is there for me. It speaks to me on a spiritual level that not many other songs ever have. Despite that, it's not even my favorite song on X. That crown belongs to the extremely underrated Stars, which is no joke a top 5, potentially top 3, Kylie song for me. Even though it does touch on pretty weighty topics, like the meaning of life and how to find joy in it, I just really love Stars because it's a straight up banger. I love pop rock music, especially from the 2000s, and this is basically Kylie's take on it, which she absolutely knocks out of the park. Whenever that explosive chorus hits, my ass is shaking. There's also a song called White Diamond, which was released as a bonus track in Australia and New Zealand, and it's definitely the most down-tempo moment on the album. It's gorgeous, and even though I don't like it nearly as much as the last 3 songs, It's still interesting to listen to, since it sticks out from the rest of her typically upbeat discography. These 4 songs are the most personal moments on X, and even then, they're not super explicit about it. If you didn't know anything about Kylie, you probably wouldn't guess these songs were about her life, and I think that's where some of the disappointment fans and critics had for this album came from. From what I've read online, from both professional reviews and fan comments, it looks like people wanted Kylie to go a little bit deeper. I can understand that, and if I was a fan at the time, maybe I would have felt the same. But in my opinion, I don't think Kylie, or any artist for that matter, owes us anything personal. She even said she didn't want X to be an album all about being sick, and wanted to make something uplifting, and I respect the hell out of that. If an artist wants to make something super meaningful to them, then by all means they should. But to me, as long as the music itself is good, I don't really need it to be super personal. I connect with music in my own way. The way I relate to No More Rain is extremely different from how Kylie does, but that doesn't make it mean any less to me. And plus, doesn't it make sense that Kylie wanted to make something infectiously positive as a way of moving on from a dark time in her life? I think it's a beautiful thing that she made this album as fun and joyous as it is, and it's a testament to who she is as an artist. She's someone who wants to bring happiness into people's lives, with her brand of campy, over-the-top bops. Again, she has every right to make something personal if she wanted to, but she's made it clear that she doesn't, and that's totally fine. My favorite artist of all time is Britney Spears, and her discography is far from personal, but I still connect with it in my own way. I can see why fans in 2007 wanted Kylie to go deeper, but that's simply not her MO. She wanted to make people dance, and she sure as hell did. I personally would rank X in her top 5 albums just for its sheer zaniness, and how she wasn't afraid to reinvent herself again, despite her relatively longer break from music. I truly believe some of her all-time best songs are on this record, and that's why it's a personal favorite of mine. Honestly, if the whole album was just Stars and No More Rain, I would probably still feel the same. If you haven't heard it before, or it's been a while since you last listened, definitely get into it. It's sure to give you a serotonin boost, and maybe just a few tears.